Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Graham Lincoln Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Graham Lincoln Mac Lane. Mac and I have not even really discussed what we are going to say today. Mac has been super busy. He is still in Dallas at the time of this recording. I am in Greenville, but about to leave for the airport to go to Charlotte. We may see each other in the Charlotte airport, Mac, but I know you had a great time in Dallas.
Yeah.
Maybe just start us there and just say how great Dallas was.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about Ingles, and then we can get to Clemson because, yeah.
Start with the good vibes. I like that because it was, it's one of those things. This is an ACC football podcast. This is not an individual team podcast, but there are going to be some emotions, I'm sure, that come out. We had a great weekend. Khaki Mac's here with me. We came out to Dallas. Dallas was amazing. I love coming here. The SMU people, fans, family are great. Coaching staff, strength staff, everybody is so amazing. And it was a great environment. It was really, really fun. Amazing night. Got to hang out with the Pony Express. Got to hang out with my friend Bryson DeChambeau again. Our guy Bill and his wife Liz, they were fantastic. I'm getting late night texts from my guy Matt Pittman, Meat Church, who's actually in Hawaii celebrating his wife's birthday, but he was tuned in and watching the huddle. So Dallas is like home away from home. It was a great weekend, and a lovely, lovely time here. But my Tigers did ruin it just a little bit, maybe a lot of it, but we're here. We're having fun. Flight's delayed, so we're going to be in Dallas more, hanging out. Maybe go hit up your family, KG. I don't know.
Yeah.
We might get stuck here. Who knows? But anyway, let's get a quick message from our friends over at Ingles, and because everything's always good and happy there, that'll get us into a better spot. And then let's break down these games because a lot happened.
Did you know Ingles only sells USDA Choice and Prime cuts of meat? Maybe it's time to reward yourself. Our butchers cut all our meat fresh in the store every day. Grass-fed, organic, you name it. Not only that, we'll even cut it to order just the way you like it. And we grind meat fresh in the store multiple times a day. It's all in the bag. That's the best meat in town for the best folks in town. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
All right, Mac, as you alluded to, we're going to start with Clemson. We will get to Miami's covering win over Duke. We will get to SMU's massive win over Pitt that you were there for, Mac. We'll get to Syracuse's impressive win over Virginia Tech. However, let's start with Clemson. Louisville, talk about impressive. Louisville beats number 11 Clemson 33-21. Mac, I was there, so I can give you some insight there. It was just kind of Clemson played terribly, I think, in pretty much every facet of the game. Louisville did what they needed to do to win. I want to just set you up, Mac, let you run with it. Your overall thoughts.
Yeah. It was wild. And I think the other interesting piece of it was, having the late kick while we're watching. So I'm like, while we're working, so I'm watching part of it, doing TV at the game, watching back and forth. So it was one of those things where, you see it and Clemson's up. I saw Clemson walk down the field, score, and you're like, okay, cool. And then I look back and, Louisville's up like 2 scores. You're just like, whoa, what happened? What happened? And, it's after going back and, just thinking about the game and seeing the game, it was just really, really weird. And there's a bunch of different ways. I mean, I can get super emotional and talk about it if we want, but, I think just the overarching thing of a team with a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement, that has not been there in quite some time. Talking about November, talking about night game in the Valley.
Talking about playoff, right?
Playoffs, Heisman, all these different things, that you're just really excited about. And then for it to come crashing down, the way it did, and give Louisville a ton of credit. I get it. We have significantly more Clemson, followers on this than Louisville. So we'll play into Louisville a little bit. But, just seeing how the team came out after a bye week, just weird. And it was brought to my attention, this is Clemson's 3rd straight year losing after a bye. And now I know they had another bye earlier, and they beat NC State, a bad NC State team, which had a great win. We'll talk about that. But it's just a weird lack of preparedness. The situationally, like things that happened, throughout the game where you see the timing of scoring. I did the offense felt like I was watching the Georgia game again, like side to side stuff, not going vertical, weird decisions being made, the blocked field goals. Like
The
as a
special
guy that played
teams.
on the field goal team my whole life, it's embarrassing. It's terrible. And guys just getting boloed. There's a dude laying on the ground, like looking at the sky while the ball's getting blocked and picked up and ran back. I'm just like, what is happening? What is going on? Punting was not good.
Mm-mm.
And then just the defense. I mean, I've been talking about this. It feels like all year that there's spurts where you're like, oh, this is great. And will this be Clemson's best game? It was Clemson's worst game. I mean, it was just embarrassing to see, guys in the wrong gaps, 0 sacks. I mean, the lack of production is alarming. And I don't like, I don't know, to get ran on for 200 plus yards, 150 of or whatever it was by a true freshman. It's not acceptable. It's not what Clemson does. It's not what they've built their brand on. It's what they built everything on. And that stinks to watch. It's painful to watch. And even the lack of, sorry, I am getting emotional at this point. Even the lack of, sense of urgency at the end of the game. Like it took Clemson like 5 minutes to score a touchdown. And I'm just looking like, guys, like go, let's get going. And guys being short of the line to gain, running out of bounds short of the line to gain, not getting out of bounds to save clock, having personnel issues that loses clock and loses yardage, not going for 2. Like there was a couple of different points where like, I mean, I've never coached. I've never had to call plays. I've never had to make those decisions, but I kind of know situations. You want to be down 11, not down 2 touchdowns. And so it was really, really weird. Very weird. Like things that we thought were way in the rear view that reared up in a hurry. And I saw some people, tweeting and talking about this was way worse than the Duke game, which I don't know if that's quite true. But it was very similar, eerie feelings where you're just like, what are we watching? What's out there? And I can't even imagine for you being, in the stadium and excited for a night game and, you get it, be out with your friends and your husband. And then it's just like, I would have rather stayed home with my kid.
Yeah, especially the babysitting bill that I paid watching that game. Mac, okay, so that's interesting comparing it to the Duke game last year. I think the difference is, especially specifically last year for Clemson, a lot of the losses were explainable because you just turned the ball over all the time.
Right.
You had 0 turnovers in this game and lost by 12 to Louisville. Like that's honestly the craziest part. You didn't have any crazy, freaky fumble at the 1-yard line, pass tipped off a player's head, someone catches it. You didn't have that.
Right.
You just got outplayed. And the stats don't necessarily say that because Clemson did outgain Louisville, but some of that was late. But also Louisville, like they had to settle for a lot of field goals. It could have been worse. Clemson's defense did held up a little bit there, but it's almost like they were content to settle for field goals because they were not afraid of your offense. And Mac, I know you had to go back and watch it because you were working. I'm curious if you thought it was more Louisville's secondary playing really, really well or Clemson's receivers not able to get separation, because it felt like a lot of times Cade was scrambling, like creating a little more time in the pocket, which sometimes he does get happy feet, but it's like no one was finding a way to get open for him. You contrast that with watching Miami. Cam Ward scrambles and dudes get open for him. Like he adds, 4, 5, 6 seconds to the play. Restrepo's going to make a play or someone else. And you did not have that. Like there wasn't a single receiver that like made a play in the entire game for Clemson. And Wesco was even back. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. And that part, was so weird because again, in the first half particularly, it was just so much side to side stuff and, getting stuffed, which again, I think the initial feeling when you're watching it and then you look at the stats and you're like, wait, what? Clemson rushed for how many yards? 200 and what? They were getting bullied. Well, they were doing the bullying. And then you dive in even further because I think you got to combine them because neither one really tells the story without context and diving in. And, I think, again, the side-to-side stuff was annoying. I mean, at one point, I think Cade was averaging like 3 yards an attempt, which is just crazy. Again, very last year type of vibes. And again, you have to give Louisville credit. I prefaced that at the beginning, but they had like 10 pass breakups. They had
Yeah.
2 sacks,
And
6 or
that's why
7
I
tackles for
really
loss.
do think you got to give credit to the Louisville secondary. I
You
think
do.
they
You
showed
do.
up.
They did, and they played inspired. And I'll say this about that. What took so long? Thanks for doing it against us. Thanks for ruining the ACC's chance. It's great. Awesome. Very typical
Galati also made his
of this
presence
league.
known. Like
Yeah. I mean,
the
it's
Louisville
just,
defense stood up.
right. And that's what I've been begging for and talking about
Mhm.
preseason. Okay, this is what I really thought this team was going to be good at. And then, of course, it shows up against Clemson, which is just, it's typical and funny, but whatever. It is what it is. Interesting road ahead for both teams. Clemson, one loss in the ACC, certainly not out, but don't control your own destiny. And all those situations that we've been talking about, situationally tiebreaker and stuff, that is now not good because you are certainly on the outside looking in. Miami, SMU, Clemson do not play. So it's not like you can go and beat those guys and earn a right to play for an ACC championship. Totally out of your control. And if we're being serious and quite frank, those two teams have a significantly easier path when you look at who they play and who they have left to where you feel like it's locked up. It's done.
And they look way better.
And they look significantly better.
Yeah.
Well, in the one game. Yeah, for sure.
As of late.
Since we've seen them. Yeah, as of last night, as of Saturday night. So, yeah, it's one of those things. And, two things I do want to address because I think we need to. The first being what you tweeted out, that this is the best team that Clemson's played since Georgia, and they look terrible. I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And
so that's even more telling.
That out. Yeah, it is. And now it's like November. Look out. Here we go. Is this a time where you're going to see this team fall apart, or was that just a one-off and now a second off because of the Georgia game?
Mm-hmm.
And they refigured out. I don't know. It looked like Peter Woods might have went down at some point. I don't know how much we saw him in the second half.
He basically didn't play.
Yeah,
He
so
was
it's
out.
interesting. And then the last thing, and I know where it came from, and I know the area which it came from, but we cannot throw stuff on the field. Like, it's embarrassing. I was honestly ill seeing it because I knew what was going to come from it, and seeing it all across social media. It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. So let's be a little bit better than that. Let's win and lose with class. I know it's hard, and I know there was calls and things of that nature, but it certainly wasn't any type of outcome to the game. So got to be better than that. So I just challenge everybody to not be silly doing things.
Agreed on that, Mac. And I'm going to add 2 more things. Speaking of the crowd, I am not in any way, shape, or form making an excuse for that because you can't do it. Totally agree. And that's not what Clemson's about. They should not throw stuff on the field. That was one of the more frustrated crowds I've ever been in for a Clemson game because you expect to win and then you just look that bad. But people were leaving. People came back after halftime. It's not like they gave up on the team. But after the 4th and 1 stop, midway through the third quarter, a lot of people left. And I also wanted to leave at that time. But don't worry, I waited until the second blocked field goal before I left because I was paying a babysitter $20 an hour. But, Mac, the second thing, and I thought the crowd brought it. I don't think it was a crowd issue. The crowd brought it and tried to give this team everything they could. The team just gave them nothing to cheer for. So, and then it got tough after the second half. The second thing, Mac, the special teams has truly become unacceptable.
Yeah.
You no longer have the margin of error where your special teams cannot be great. Because really for most of this era, it's not like Clemson has had great special teams. Right. But they've had decent special teams, and you were so good in other areas you could make up for it. But now that's not the case. So your special teams kill you. The punting was bad, and then the 2 missed field goals. If you make both those field goals, then and if you still play this poorly, it's a little interesting down the stretch. Maybe if you do recover an onside kick or whatever. So
it's just momentum. I mean, it's momentum play.
That too.
Both of them. I mean, with the punting, you can't flip the field at all.
No.
And then with the field goals, I mean, that is a juice play. That's like a big score, a big turnover, a big hit, a dunk, a transitional 3. It's things that get one team going and bring back the other team. And the fact that it happened twice, the fact that it's happened 4 times in whatever span and the same side in the same place is just.
I mean, just think special teams in general. You had to go get a guy off the street last year to kick.
Right.
It just.
And I mean, even the.
It's so confusing.
Doing that job just to really peel this back for people. Because again, I did this my entire career. It's insane and it stinks. But here's the deal. You put your arms out, you lock on, and you literally grab and like get a holding call, whatever it is. But you don't just get dunked on and let people rip through. I mean, it's really crazy what I'm seeing. And I don't know if that's poor coaching. I don't know if that's I don't know, friends in there. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know who's in there. I'm not looking at the numbers and replaying, reviewing the special teams deal, but you've got to figure that out because that's just bad. That's bad details. It's bad effort. It's bad everything. And it's just not cool. Anyway, were there any other games? Were there any other cool stuff?
Yes.
Are we good?
We're going to get to that. I just want to add too for Louisville. We said this on Friday. Massive win for Louisville. Turns your season in a different direction because they've had so many
First time ever beating Clemson and doing it at home at night. Congratulations.
It's
really
big.
Cool.
And Isaac Brown is for real. I mean, that
He's
guy is the truth.
Hey, he put him to sleep. Did you see him, the little tiger mascot? I was like, oh that hurts.
He's good. And he's
good
just
for you, big dog. Good for you.
Yeah, he's a baller. Okay, let's get to these other games, Mac, because we only have so much time, and you have to somehow get out of Dallas. Let's get to that game. We can get to SMU afterwards. Or sorry, we can get to Miami afterwards. Number 20 SMU beats number 18 Pitt 48-25. I have written down okay SMU. As someone who picked Pitt, I apologize profusely. Let's hope Bill, W, Bryson, and others did not hear that. KJ was great. Brashard Smith was great. I mean, I thought it was pretty much over that Brashard Smith super long touchdown around the second quarter. I was like, all right, I think we're done. Even just the first drive, SMU was like, they just dominated, Mac. They absolutely dominated. What was it like to be there? It looked electric.
It was fun. The atmosphere was electric. I mean, it was the most people. We've been there twice, but even talking with others, Bill Armstrong and Coach, and a bunch of people that have been there, done that. They said that was one of the best crowds they've ever seen, ever at that place. And the interaction, like the students were singing the national anthem, which was cool. They said they've never in the history ever seen that. Just the amount of people and the juice that was there. So that was great. And then, as you mentioned, the Ponies get off and run in a hurry. I mean, explode in the second quarter. I think they scored 20-something points, but it was just big play after big play
24.
after big play. Yeah, and whatever they wanted, run it, pass it, throw it. And I was very impressed with the bounce back, of Kevin Jennings and the, just attitude. We had asked a couple of players, and EJ and Eddie asked a couple of different people, and, just said, how was he in practice and this week? And, was he tentative or hesitant? And they're like, oh, he was still ripping it and doing his thing. And I said, that's great. And, just hearing about, his coaches and how they handle it all. And for him to bounce back against this defense that literally did the same thing but worse to another team that he just experienced, you're thinking, okay, this might be danger. And he carved him up. I mean, 300-plus yards, throwing the ball all over the place, really making smart decisions. And then to be able to run it. I think Pitt was the second or third run defense in the ACC. And those guys, I mean, they were running like it was Swiss cheese. I mean, they were dominating. Really impressive by the offensive line getting out and, doing their thing. And again, when you have a guy as talented as Smith, I mean, he's so good. He's such a weapon. A lot like Desmond Reed. It was just his night and his day, and they played at a great level. And same thing for the SMU defense. I thought they were fantastic. And I know Pitt scored, 14 in the fourth, which, it was total domination. The score looks
that was
a little closer, but it was butt whipping time. And they dominated. They dominated all day.
Brashard Smith is so good. We talk about him. I'm not sure nationally. It's like nationally people are starting to talk about SMU. I saw Nick Saban said that Kevin Jennings was one of the more underrated players, or maybe the most underrated player in the country. Yeah. And so people are starting to talk about Jennings. And then Brashard Smith is just, he's a weapon. He's incredible. Yeah. Des Reed was like the weapon coming into this game that we talked about. They really limited Des Reed. They did a great job with that. And it felt like Pitt came back. Their defense specifically came back down to earth. We talked about like the Syracuse game was a little fluky. I think anytime you have 5 picks, it is a little fluky. So they came. I still thought maybe they'd force a turnover or two, but SMU had 0 turnovers, which is huge. And
that was probably the most impressive part.
Yeah, Mac. I mean, you and I were talking about that even off air, like mentally as a locker room to be able to recover from that. And I think it was huge that they won the game while having 6 turnovers. Because it's not like you're going to gloss it under the rug, but you can still maintain your confidence and momentum.
For sure.
And the fact that they didn't turn over was a really good sign for SMU.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with SMU. I thought we all talked about it, right? We thought they could come in here, maybe finish 8-4. Like that was what we were hopeful for SMU. They've already won 8 games. They're 8-1, and they've. It's not like they've dominated. Like the only team they truly dominated, well, you could say Pitt, Stanford, of course, and Florida State, who's a disaster. But they've won close games. They've won on the road. I didn't expect this. And as we talked with Bill, if they had just found a way to beat BYU, which by the way was just the second start for Kevin Jennings, and was such a weird game. If they
might be the Big 12 champs.
I mean, and it's still a good loss, but it's just incredible what they've done.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's probably the greatest transition from G5 to P5 ever. Like when you look at all of it, when you see, other examples and just the way that they've done it. I mean, it's been fascinating. And legitimately, I mean, they have an unbelievable shot to play and compete in the ACC championship and make a playoff. I mean, already this morning, Clemson out, SMU in all the playoff predictions and the other seedings and the way things go. So that's just how it goes. That we've mentioned, all throughout that this was a playoff game, and it's going to be that way for a lot of teams moving forward. I mean, there's no more significant regular season than college football, even in this expanded playoff era. As this lighting is going crazy right now. Hotel life. Now I'm like in the dark hiding. I don't know what to do. But anyway, they played at a super high level, and it was really fun to watch and fun to be in person and see that.
It was, without a doubt. Mac, are you and Bryson are y'all boys now? I saw you were holding the U.S. Open trophy.
Pretty cool. We saw each other from afar, kind of met in the middle, and just embraced. He was like, "Dang, I forgot how big you are." I was like, "Dude, it's all good. You're awesome." And then he's like, "You want to hold the trophy?" He said, "Yeah, I do."
Absolutely.
It was it was smaller than I thought.
Interesting. Did you show him
a nice chalice, if you will?
A chalice. Did you show him the video of you driving the ball in the Winnie the Pooh suit, or no?
Well, I didn't want to. I wasn't going to say intimidate him, but that's like a total joke. I didn't want to embarrass myself. I
think that's a smart move. Yeah. But DeChambeau coming to the Summer Guest Series soon.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't just message him. I posted it on Instagram and just messaged him like, "Great to see you." We'll see if he responds. Maybe we get him on. Or maybe we could do the Break 50 challenge. I don't know if you've seen that, Gramlich and Mac Lane with Bryson DeChambeau. That'd be cool.
Amazing. All right. Stay tuned, guys. That would be epic. Okay. We got to talk about Miami, Mac. Number 5, Miami beats Duke 53-31. Cam Ward, just, another casual 400-yard, 5-touchdown afternoon for Cam Ward. Restrepo was back with a vengeance. If you took Restrepo touchdown with Underdog, you were living large. For some reason, I didn't take it. I'm an idiot. We'll get to that.
Neither one of us. We're so dumb.
Such an idiot. I was telling people to do it, and then I didn't do it. This game was weirdly close, right? And we thought that Duke would keep it close. Miami does end up covering, which is a little frustrating. They just had an amazing fourth quarter. They outscored Duke 21-3 in the fourth quarter, and that really sealed. I thought they wore Duke down in a lot of ways, but Miami just continues to play somewhat close games. But then you look at the score and you're like, it really wasn't that close. Yeah. The offense is amazing. The defense still worries me a bit. That's kind of just where I am with Miami.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's funny they get up 14-0 in a hurry, and we're just like, okay, here we go. And then boom, halftime, it's 20-14, and you're just like, what's going on here? Is everybody okay? Everybody good? And then, as you mentioned, Miami just explodes in the second half. I mean, the way that their offense can go nuclear so fast is crazy. I mean, it's so fun to watch. Legitimately, I think they can score with anybody. I just don't know how. How you stop them. They have so much balance, so many guys. I mean, it's Isaiah Horton is emerging as a freak. Like that dude is good, and just everybody. I mean, they're all different. They all do different things, and when you throw in the like 4 tight ends now that just come out of nowhere. I know Arroyo is
one of them's 28.
Yeah, it's just like where do these guys keep coming from? You got some freshman like phenom, pound for pound, greatest football player ever that's playing like fullback, tight end, kick returner. Then you got 88, 89 whatever, whoever, 8, all these different numbers. You're just like, where are all these guys coming from? But they're playing at a high level, and they just have answers. They have answers. Whatever you want to do, they're going to figure it out. And it's just really exciting to see. And, I think when you have a guy like Cam Ward, who we've said this probably since like week 2, is, the greatest quarterback in college football. I really think like the Heisman stuff, like it's fun to talk about, Boise State, and I get that. And Genty is a beast. Don't hear me wrong, but it's not the same thing. Like, it's just like Cam Ward is so far and away just in another stratosphere of who he is and what he does and the competition he's going against and just things of that nature. I think he comes home with it. I really do. I think it's going to be between him and Travis Hunter at the end of the day. And we'll see. But Miami's on an absolute roll. And I'm not saying it's 4 straight byes because they play a very physical team and there's still some interesting things that could happen, but they are strolling to Charlotte right now in a hurry. And it's gonna be really fun just to see what that game ends up being.
I still think at Georgia Tech and at Syracuse could be somewhat interesting, especially because this defense is giving up points like they are. Yeah. That's just the reality. Your offense does score pretty quickly at times, and that can be part of it. Mac, when it comes to Cam Ward and the Heisman, I think we have to put it in the greater context. And I think recently, Jaden Daniels winning it with a 9-3 team, and I think Jaden Daniels is phenomenal. I'm not trying to take it away from him, but it's like it's no longer your team has to be undefeated or one loss to truly be in the discussion. Right. So it almost devalues a bit of what Cam Ward is doing. Like, if he leads Miami to an undefeated season and an ACC championship, something that Miami has not been able to do since they joined this league.
Right.
And they're Miami, and all these great players have come through, and no one's been able to do it. Like, I think we need to have that context, right? Like, I think the bigger picture has to be at play. How much Cam Ward has elevated this program. Just hit now. Everyone else has played well around him. They've obviously used the portal really well. They've recruited well, whatever. But what are they without Cam Ward? Like, these are questions we have to ask when it comes to the Heisman.
It's a great point. It's a great point. And, just moving forward, like this is obviously a fantastic foundation and the things they've been able to do. But, how do you build on it? What comes next and who comes next? Because I don't know if you necessarily feel good about who's on your roster. You probably go get somebody. But it's going to be interesting. And he's electric as it comes and soaring up draft boards, soaring up whatever. And, just Miami's playing at a high level. And it's really fun to watch. It's been fun to watch, but it's just exciting football that they're playing right now.
Mac, speaking of exciting football, Syracuse, New York, baby. Let's go. Syracuse beats Virginia Tech 38-31 in overtime. I told you Syracuse would cover, Eric McLean. I told you. Now,
well, you didn't tell me that Kyron Drones and Basil Tootin would be out.
I was going to say this. I did not say
development as the ball's kicking off.
I did not say that Virginia Tech's 2 best offensive players and their best overall player in Basil Tootin would not play.
Unreal.
And that's just college football now. You just don't know. But Colin Shee, he was great. Yeah. Like the first half, I mean, they're up 14-0. They're up 21-3. He's running the ball. He looks great. Yeah. The turnovers came back to bite them in the second half. Syracuse seemed to wake up a little bit. LaQuint Allen was incredible. Did you feel that was it just how the game went, or did Fran Brown take the ball out of Colin McCord's hands a little bit? Maybe on purpose. He only passed it 35 times.
Yeah, only.
All right, only.
I think it was weird. Like, getting kind of back into the game. Also, Virginia Tech's run defense hasn't been great.
Yeah.
And giving up a lot of yards. So I think it was just systematic, an approach of this is what they're going to give us. Let's not be silly. Let's not force the ball. But I like the way he responded. I mean, you're looking in the first half, 14-3, and then I can't remember if it got 21-3 or if Syracuse scored in between then. Yeah, it's like, okay, here we go again. Like, this stinks. We're not doing very well. And they come roaring back, score 15 and 13 respectively. And then, a game winner in overtime with LaQuint just being a beast. I loved it. I love the grit. I love the response. Love what we saw. And, I thought it was a really good job. And Syracuse, again, what we were all mentioning, the 2 of us, and even actually Coach Rick kind of alluded to it yesterday night or Saturday night on the show as well, that they normally would lose this game. Mm-hmm. Every other year 100%. Before this year, they lose that game. And just the time and where they are and what they do. So I loved it. let's keep it up. Let's keep it going. Obviously you have some, monsters on the schedule the rest of the way. I'm pulling it up right here now. At Boston College, at Cal, friendly UConn comes to town, ACC friend there, and then Miami to end the season. So
At home, though.
big stretch here with some really impactful things that you can finish the season accordingly.
Syracuse is 6-2.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is, Mac, because you said this on our Friday episode. Syracuse, over the last just recent history, they lose this game, 100%. Right. And they found a way. Yes, if Tootin or Drones plays, maybe it's different, but they didn't. That's just not what happened. Yeah. Marlo Wax was also really good in his second game.
Love to see first game back. I think that was his first full game back. That was awesome.
Second, but
great to see that.
Yeah, he was awesome. So, again, to me, that's a culture win for Syracuse. I think that just shows you there's a bit of a different culture brewing there in Cuse. All right, we have 2 more games in our speed round, Mac. But first, Underdog Fantasy, use our code GMPOD, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Sign up today. It is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Mac, there's a lot of red on my screen.
I got wrecked. I had one of the worst weekends ever, probably.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I think a lot of just crazy stuff happened. First of all, when you bet on, when one of your entries is Bashal Toot, he doesn't play, that's depressing.
It's hard.
That's not going to go well. So there's that. And then Martinez didn't score. Miami used some other running backs a little more. Phil Maffa came through. I'll tell you that. And then McCord. I had McCord higher than whatever his number was for passing yards. And
400 and 100 yards. Yeah, he had less.
11. Yeah. But he just didn't pass the ball as much.
Yeah.
Enter Nick, if I can find his numbers, because he said he went hurt.
He won, yeah.
So shout out to Enter Nick, because that's how it's done. Obviously,
you want to win real money, just follow Kelly, follow Nick, don't follow me.
No, follow Nick. For me, it hasn't worked the last couple of weeks. What did Intern Nick have? I want to look it up. Okay. He had Omarion Hampton higher than 18.6 fantasy points. Obviously, Hampton got that. We're going to get to that.
Got 1 million.
He had Tyler Shuck under 64.5 or lower first quarter passing yards. Got that.
Wow.
Eli Holstein higher 0.5 interceptions. And then, Intern Nick always does the kickers. Andre Borregales higher than 8.5 kicking points. That's a lot of kicking points.
Wow.
Dang.
That's crazy.
All right. Use our code
for the kickers. I don't like kickers, so I don't ever include them.
Yeah, kickers stress me out, as we discussed in the Clemson game. But use our code GMPOD, easiest place to play, and just follow Intern Nick's picks. That's what you need to do.
That's the advice.
Our final 2 in our speed round. Let's start with UNC and Omarion Hampton. UNC beats Florida State. Mac Brown beats Florida State for the first time ever. 35-11, absolute domination. Florida State is truly maybe the worst team in Power 5. Omarion Hampton, though. Omarion Hampton, 32 carries for 172 and 4 touchdowns, and 3 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. North Carolina ran it 55 times for 289 yards. They outgained Florida State 500 to 201 yards. Yeah. That's really all you need to know.
Yeah. Literally, we said it, and I don't remember. I hope I said it here, but just run the ball. Run it 40 times.
You literally said that.
That's all I would do. That's all I would do moving forward. Anybody that plays Florida State, run the football, especially when you have maybe the best back in college football. Eddie Royal is really tripling down on this recently with Omarion Hampton. Listen, I agree. It's just what, Genty's doing over at Boise State. You can't ignore it in regards to position, but yeah, I mean, I think he's a monster. I think both those guys are unbelievable, generational type, players and backs. And I think if he's in a better situation winning wise, like if Carolina was winning more, right, he's probably in discussion, for the Doak. I'm sure he already is, but in the Heisman Trophy with the numbers and things that he's doing, he is electric, and the ability to just, I mean, when he caught that shovel pass and took it to the house, it literally looked like a video game.
Yeah.
One guy's an All-American, the other's playing like on rookie mode, and they just are bouncing off of him, diving at his feet. He's running by people, and you're just like, what is happening? This guy's not real life. It was fun to see. He is an absolute monster. And the Carolina defense, I mean, just casually like top 4 in the country in sacks. It helps when you have 17 in 2 weeks. But 10 sacks last week. I think they had 7 this week against Florida State. It's great. It's fun. It's fun to see that. And good for those guys. Good for Coach Jeff Collins and good for, again, those rushers that, guys that we've been saying, come on, let's go. And they're having a little success. It's fun to see.
And we do love Mac Brown on this pod, so
love Mac.
Happy for him.
Might be seeing him in a couple of weeks. I heard. We'll see. Might be hanging out in UNC. We'll see.
to coach that long and not have beaten Florida State. There are very few things that he hasn't done.
Yeah,
So
awesome. Got
it's
it
nice
done.
to check that one off the list. Max,
Yeah.
speaking of running backs going off, NC State in our last game beat Stanford 59-28. Both Jordan Waters and Hollywood Smothers just exploded. They both had over 100 yards. CJ Bailey, only 2 incompletions. I really like what they have with CJ Bailey going forward. They need to keep him, which, has been an issue for NC State in the past, but I like him. I like him a lot. And both NC State and UNC are working towards bowl eligibility, and they're going to have to play each other last game of the year, which may end up being a decider. I don't know, but they're both getting back on track. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it helps when you play Florida State and Stanford. It's a good get back game.
Yeah. Florida State and Stanford. Two terrible.
It was great to see. It was great to see. CJ Bailey's been electric. He's been really fun to watch. So efficient and accurate. I think he's the most accurate freshman in the country with throwing the ball and how he does it. 3 touchdowns. But then the run game. I mean, to have explosives of 50, Jordan Waters went for 94 yards to the house. It's just it's cool to see. And those were the numbers. I know he had 5. He only had 5 rushes, which is crazy. I don't know what the heck's going on, but only had 5 rushes. And the fact that one of them was for 94 is just. It's nuts, but this is the type of offense that I expected to see all year, from NC State. And, it's just a weird thing, but hey, better late than never. It's good to see it, good to get it done, and, just keep building. So anyway, I'm going to go build an airplane so I can get home.
Mac, I love that. I'm going to do a shameless plug really fast because this episode's coming out on Monday. College basketball starts tonight. If you made it this far, then maybe I can convince you to turn on ACC Network this evening as we have all night coverage. Notre Dame women play, Duke and UNC men play, and then we'll have a post-game show. So stay locked in. We got a lot of basketball coming today, but then Mac and I are back talking football for the rest of the week. So we'll see you then.
It's crossover season. We're back. We're doing it. And here we go. So anyway, appreciate you guys. I look like a Darth Vader Star Wars character right now.
We're in mourning. It's okay.
Order 66 is about to happen maybe. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Always tuning in. KG doesn't know what that is. Google it later. And then
I literally just said, ha, 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 ha. I don't know.
Whatever that is. Google it and then text me. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Go over to the channel, subscribe, jump on with us. We really appreciate all your support. All you guys tuning in the comments. Let's load them up. Let's hear what you think. Crazy week. Things are really starting to take shape. The path is being cleared out. Only 2 teams undefeated remain in conference here. And Miami, one of the very few in the country left undefeated overall. There's not very many at all. So impressive to see what everybody's doing. And, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, SiriusXM, we appreciate you always. But until next time, we'll see y'all.